Welcome to the blank screen.
Welcome to Pikmin 3.
You paused it.
Yes, I did.
This is different. So yeah, for those who don't know, I did put out an OOT hack like a year ago. It is called Voyager of Time, as you can see here. Briefly talking about the title screen, this graphic was literally given to me about 15 minutes before the game went live.
So yeah, here's basically how this is going to go down. There have been full playthroughs of this game, and there's one that's currently in progress that we're actually watching and enjoying. We don't want to take away from those, but this is kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Developer commentary?
Obviously, Brynna made the game and has a lot of stories to tell about it. I helped with parts of it, so I'll be joining in.
We're not going to be recording the entire game.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the one doing the gameplay. But yeah, it's not gonna be like a full playthrough start to finish. It's basically gonna be like highlights.
Basically,
so,
yeah. We're not going to be showing a lot of the dungeons unless
let's
something
start by pressing
changed.
start and then triggering the twin. Okay, never mind. I guess we're not triggering the Twin Rova cutscene.
No.
So, how does this whole work? If you're in file 1, does it give you debug options?
It depends.
I never
This
understood
game is
that.
weird. It's obviously coded very weird. You're gonna get debug options no matter what problem.
Always gotta be long.
Yes. So yeah, basically, like I said, the title screen. The person who did the graphic for me, her name was Sakura. She sent it to me literally 15 minutes before the game was supposed to be released. So it was kind of like hectic down to the last second.
I could start hitting C buttons and glitch the game out.
Please don't.
I know.
So basically, my overall idea for the game was to completely give a new storyline. That was my overall goal. It wasn't to make something like, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't to make a completely new game.
This was a test, basically, of what I could do, with very little knowledge of hacking or anything at all. I wanted to go into this and see what a complete beginner could put out, and if it would be any good. It started out with text replacing, and then I learned a little bit more. And as I went along through the game, I learned a little bit more on what I could do, what I could not do, things like that. A lot of this is just actor replacing, moving stuff around, doing very slight changes here and there. But the main chunk of this game is really about a new story. It's about.
And I like the analogy that you gave, which was basically like taking an already made comic book and replacing the text bubbles.
Literally,
because you can't really change cutscenes, at least not easily.
At all, yeah.
So
not
it's
easily.
like you're gonna have stuff like this. It's like, well, the story, like, this takes place after Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, so, well, Deku Tree's alive, let's just say it's the Scrub.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's a lot of times where it kind of has to be
a little
shoehorned in, but
Yeah.
I think it works overall.
The problem, it is literally like taking a comic book, erasing all the text, and making a new storyline with the pictures, the same pictures.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do. So
it almost kind of works with Zelda though, because Zelda has the whole like history repeating itself thing going on, especially with Ocarina of Time because of the whole time travel kind of screwing with the timeline.
It works.
So it's like in this playthrough, Link and the sages, at least, have memories of what happened, but we're thinking that Ganondorf kind of doesn't.
It's debatable. There are plot holes. I'm honest. At least there are plot holes in this story. It can't be perfect, but I did my best. There are some people who remember, there are some people who don't, and obviously a big part of the game is about memories of things, which we'll get into later when that comes up. But basically, like I said, the overall idea was to make an entire new story from OOT. That way OOT players could still enjoy the game, but not be bored by the cutscenes, if that makes sense.
Random echo.
Yes. So, while some of it is derpy, you can't really change the amount of text bubbles, and you can't really reduce them that easily without screwing stuff up in the ROM. So, you pretty much have to either make somebody have very eloquent eloquent speech if you want them to fill in all the space that they can. So, and sometimes I just didn't have enough space for what I wanted to talk about.
Also, pay no attention to the flashing lights at the bottom. Those just tell you what button is being used.
That's the debug problem.
It's is it debug or is it Nemu?
It's the debug ROM itself.
So yeah, this
it does it on, I think, all of it.
So I'm just gonna kind of play through this. Now, one thing that we always kind of harp on when people LP this game is not talking to the NPCs. I don't think I'm going to be talking to all the NPCs because we're not going to be showing the whole game. But if there's specific ones you want me to show off, I'll go and talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... If you want to talk
Sorry, I went into the tree.
If you
and the line that has confused many people.
So many people
This was my doing.
Yes.
This is literally what happened at the start of the game. She's like, okay, Saria, you have been a thorn in my side for years. I hate the fact that you say Yahoo.
I do.
I'm going to change it. And she changed it to something else, and I'm like, no, you should totally have her just say Google, because this is a newer game and Yahoo is out of date. And she's like, yeah, totally should.
So it's just, it was just something funny, I thought. And so many people didn't get it. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to know the text perfectly to get the joke.
For people to play this, I expect you to know Ood back and forth.
So anyway, this is the, I'm going where the normal player who doesn't know what's coming up is going.
Yeah.
This is the ISG training ground, which I think is kind of hilarious.
We go over glitches.
It basically tells you how to do glitches very briefly.
Please read that sign out there. Everyone skips this.
This one, yeah.
Why is it called the Hole of Z? Seriously.
Didn't it say, like, why don't you head into the Indiana Jones corridor? Or is that this one?
I think that's this one, yeah. I messed around a lot with signs, breaking the fourth wall. The beginning of the game was actually a lot sillier than before.
Yeah, like, the game develops a serious storyline, and then there's parts that kind of didn't get changed. Like, we used to have text inside the Deku Tree, like, look, a wall!
Yeah.
Look, a door!
People hated that for some reason. I thought it was funny, but
I thought it was funny too,
I changed it because the tone was starting to get a lot more serious for the storyline that I wanted to give. So,
and this is definitely the Indiana Jones corridor.
Yeah.
That's what I've always thought of it as. So anyway, this is what the casual player always does, because they don't talk to anybody. They come over here, they don't read the sign, and then
boom.
This happens. Was that your idea or mine?
I believe I wanted to move the sword, but I didn't know what else to put in its place.
I think I was the one who was a dick and, like, make it an ice trap.
Yeah, so... and if you had read the sign, you would know it's not there. But people obviously missed the sign, and I expect them to. So, but like I said, I expect you to know Ood back and forth. Obviously, Tattle is here.
So here's a couple of things about Tattle. Then the C button still says Navi. That was another thing that was like it was going to be changed. We got the graphic like at the same time or slightly after the title screen graphic.
Yeah, just didn't have time.
This part of the thing with the release of this game is, like, there's so many people who have been wishy-washy about their hack releases, and it just never gets put out.
That was my intent from the very beginning. I wanted to put out something. I set a date, and I'm like, look, I'm going to release it this date, no matter what. Date.
Like, if the game isn't finished, it is going to still be released.
It's going to still be released.
So, like, we got the graphics, and it's like, we don't have enough time to add it. Whatever, button's still going to say Navi.
Yeah, so pretend.
And we also got sound effects for Tattle. Do you still have those anywhere?
Probably, yes.
We'll have to try to insert those. They're these kind of, like, otherworldly little whoop noises.
Oh, I don't know if I have those anymore. They're probably on the laptop somewhere.
They were really cool, and I would have liked them, but we couldn't figure out how to put them in. Let me just go to the Lost Woods.
But yeah, it's, Tattle, my idea for Tattle is because I didn't like, Tail all that much. I thought she was kind of weird. Obviously, Navi, nobody likes Navi.
So, we just figured we'll put in the other fairy.
Tattle's so colorful. I love his colors, like, so much.
Yeah.
I spent forever actually trying to find Navi's colors. You can change, like, the outer ring.
It was a certain couple lines of hex within the code that you have. Like, people have broken down the entire coding of this game.
It is not organized.
Like, this one line here is Navi's color.
Have fun.
And it didn't say specifically what about it was the color. It just...
They expect you to know
it was
hex.
like...
It's not
It was
beginner
basically
friendly.
like a line of Fs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, well, it's that she's white, so it's all Fs. So let's change this and see if we can turn it red. And it turned red, and we're like, okay. That works. So
yeah, I was so
then
excited.
we were able to kind of tweak it to get the tail colors. And it's like you have a central color and a glow color and sparkle colors.
Yeah.
And then you get different colors from targeting things. And, like, when enemies are nearby. So, I mean, we kind of...
We did mess with colors a bit. I mean, every little bitty, like... I don't know what you call it. Every little...
Don't mind this, by the way.
Well, that's with every boot-rom. But, every little victory was just celebrated because this
No reason to fight the Stalfos, but everybody does.
Yeah,
so we'll
because
do it
you have to. But this game is not beginner-friendly for hackers. It's just not. For anybody going into this saying, oh, I want to make a new hack, be warned. The tools are not friendly, they're not fun to deal with, and the game is not laid out very well at all. This game was obviously coded to not be messed with after it's coded, if that makes sense. It is very out of... Like, everything's out of order. It's a right mess inside this thing. But it makes it interesting, that's for sure. So yeah, the Razor Sword, obviously, again, is supposed to have a graphic.
It's still the Kokiri Sword, but we're considering it the Razor Sword.
Yeah. If you notice, also, if you swing the sword, there's just a tree there. If you swing the sword, you'll notice a blue slash. You are actually able to change the color of your slash, and I believe that in some beta footage, you can see Link's sword have a different color. So I wanted to have that, something different. So again, most of this is aesthetic stuff, but little things are happy to notice. But
is this the place that has the infinite Skulltula tree, or is that...
That is an adult era.
That's another thing, actually, is you don't realize this playing the game, but it becomes very evident when you're modifying it, that the game has to have different maps for different states of everything.
Yeah, I didn't realize
this at first. Kokiri Forest has a daytime as child, nighttime as child, daytime as adult, nighttime as adult, and then there's like before the Forest Temple is cleared, after the Forest Temple is cleared, so day and night for both of those.
It's ridiculous the amount of maps the Kokiri Forest has.
There's at least 6 different Kokiri Forests.
Yeah, it's
like,
a ridiculous amount.
Any other area that has like day-night cycles.
Yeah. Now the only place that has specific maps, there is adult Hyrule Field and child Hyrule Field because they pass as normally
so
in those areas. So
it
has to be a different map, but it doesn't have to be for day-night, child, day-night, adult. It's just child-adult maps. So whenever time stands still, that's when you get your tons of different maps. It's really funky. But it does allow for more changes to be made in that regard.
Not gonna talk to him.
But you always ignore them.
I like the text in here, though.
We're terrible.
Oops, I didn't read it.
We're testing the usage of the Great Deku Tree for Deku sticks and shields. We got a little morbid here. Basically, we just imagined the old Deku Tree just kind of chopped up and just put into a pile somewhere, and then they just kind of make shields and sticks out of them. It's kind of awesome, actually. I also changed the attack speed on certain items that you get. When you pick up a new item, usually you can speed through the text a little better, though there is new text for everything, so I don't suggest it unless you've played it before.
There's a specific sign I want to show off. I think it's hilarious.
There's also, for this Golden Skulltulas, you can skip through the text for that, which is nice. Unless you have learned the Pokey.
It's so stupid. For those who don't know, the Pokey is a trick in which you, I can't really do it on Emulator, at least not easily, but I'll show the lineup for it. I forget rid of this freaking sign. Oh, come on. There we go. It's still gonna let, oh my god. It's not gonna let me do it because of this freaking signpost here, but you go like this, kind of, and then you have to, like...
You crouch stab into him.
And then, like... you basically, like, as you recoil, you talk to this guy, and you're, like, merged in him, and then you can get past.
Now, the thing that I had with this game is I wanted to be kind of a dick to speedrunners, but I also kind of wanted to, like, pay homage to the fact that this game is speedrun.
So, like, the pokey thing.
So, like, the pokey thing, obviously you can get out of the forest now, you know, that thing.
You can still Navi dive.
Yeah, there's still Navi dive, all that kind of stuff. So, it's like, but there are certain things I did change to make it harder for speedrunners. Obviously, there's always a way around stuff, though.
There's one specific thing I can think of that makes it easier to skip. The cuckoo jump.
Yeah, so...
Which, did anybody ever point that out, or did nobody ever notice it?
I don't know if anybody noticed it yet. I'm sure speedrunners have, though. But, yeah. Now, this was my very first attempt at actually changing enemies around this corner, so apologies to anyone who has nightmares about these. I've seen many people die there.
Yeah.
Because of the way the loading zone works, obviously the enemies aren't there until you hit the loading zone. I didn't realize how much of a dick it would be to put big Deku Babas there.
They do a lot of damage.
They do a lot.
So this sprout grew up really freaking quickly.
Really freaking quick.
So let's look at a timeline here. Ocarina of Time finishes. Majora's Mask happens, which is literally 3 days.
But there's an implied
other adventure
with Tattle, which is why Tattle knows you, is with you, is all like,
Tail,
yeah, Tail. Yeah, it's like that's why he's with you. There's an implied adventure.
Time itself is under attack by the evil forces of Ganon.
Yeah. You, the hero of time, have felt it stronger than anyone. So yeah, the game is in a really weird place right now where you have to go through all this crap that you've been through before, and I'm just trying to shoehorn it into the story that I want to tell.
Verily, this doth sucketh much.
My favorite line, I think, in the whole game is
this
one right here.
It's one of the best lines. There's another really great one when you're done with the temple, too. But, yeah, I always enjoyed that line.
That's a remnant of when the game was a lot derpier at the beginning, because obviously when I first started out, I did not have a storyline in mind. I was just...
This pretty much just started as a text-only hack.
Yeah,
and then
to see what I could do,
the main gimmick of the playthrough didn't come into being until a while later.
Quite a lot
We'll get into that later on. But anyway, I think this is a stopping point.
Yeah, we're not going to really...
I'm going to show off this dungeon because there's quite a few changes, actually.
So...
most dungeons... Well, I don't know. We'll do it as they come.
Next time, dig a tree.
Yes, we are putting this here for them peeps who would want to try the game and have trouble, because it can be annoying to set up, actually.
There will be a link to a Google document folder that will give you the game, as well as the correct plugins. That way you could have it in your folder. That is not the correct one. Hang on.
That was clearly a Minecraft server.
Clearly. Okay.
Pay no attention to the emulators.
Yes. Basically, your Nimu folder will have this folder right here called plugin. It's easy. On Google, they will have all of these. Just whatever your Nimu comes with. It's Nimu 08. Just delete all of it and then put it all in here that have all of these names in it. You're specifically wanting the Rice videos, though. Okay, that's pretty simple, right? Okay, now you go to options. Okay, if you go to options settings, or I'll show it again. Options settings. You are under Nimu settings right here, and then you'll see general.
We will speak to you as if you are 2 years old.
Ignore folders. Go to general. You'll want to change your expansion pack from 4 to 8. We want it on 8. From graphic plugin, you want to have this one. Rice build, or Rice video build 6.1.4. There's a couple to choose from. Make sure you're on 6.1.4. And that should make everything work great. The ROM that we have zipped up in the Google Drive is the exact one that we're using. So you shouldn't have any issues.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it.
I actually do want to show another thing. Control you do down here, just input plugin. It's pretty self-explanatory. It does group together. It does have some weird terms for things, though. Pan left and pan right refer to L and R. Analog X and Y is basically up, down. Well, this is left and right. This is up and down. These are used for sensitivity, basically. If you hold shift while moving, it's like you're moving the stick very slightly. It can be definitely useful. D-pad you never really use, but there it is. If you are using a controller, you can do that. From personal experience, we had some trouble with it, though, where it didn't seem to... It could be our controller, but it's like you don't press a button on the controller and have it recognize it. You have to, like select off of a menu what number the button is, and it seemed to be, like, off by one. It was kind of weird, but you'll see how that goes. Yeah. And then just general things with the game itself. The title screen is weird. It sometimes just triggers a cutscene. You have it's sometimes start, sometimes A. I'm not sure which.
Just keep pressing start.
And avoid pressing unnecessary buttons during cutscenes because you may skip them.
Don't press the D-pad at all. So yeah, don't press the start button or the D-pad during cutscenes, but that's gone over in the README, I believe.
Yeah, do read the README.
Do read the README. It's a little outdated on the way you set it up, because obviously I'm just giving you the ROM here, which is, I guess, is a bad no-no, but oh well. But yeah, that's about all you need to know in the way of settings. So if you have any trouble, then I'm sorry, we just can't help you.
You're without help.
Without help.